tell me what the efficiencies defense is, how it works, and maybe give an example of how it has worked in the past.
Absolutely. So the efficiencies defense, which it truly is, unique to Canada and the way we treat this, allows merging parties to offset harms, higher prices, lower quality, worse service, with the idea that the merger is going to grant them cost savings. And those cost savings can and do include, layoffs. They say, well, sure, we're going to raise prices on consumers, but don't worry, we're going to fire some people as well. And that's going to improve our bottom line. And our law actually rewards that. Like an example of how it's used is really just that. We don't see publicly the claims unless the Bureau brings a challenge, but we know, for example, that in 2017, the Tervita merger, and I think this was Commissioner John Peckman at the time saying, this merger was allowed for the layoffs that were equivalent to sort of one or cost savings that were equivalent to sort of one bureau staffer. So what it boils down to is trading off the harms of the mergers with the idea that the company may be more profitable as a result of the merger. We really are an outlier. No other country really treats efficiencies in this sort of weighing manner. Many countries consider them, but they don't trade them off so explicitly.
So Vas, why is that? Why does Canada have this defense when I know that this is considered in other jurisdictions? Efficiencies are part of the calculus, but they're not so explicitly a defense the way it is in Canada. So how did this doctrine become a part of Canadian law? What's the rationale for having it?
The rationale, it hasn't aged well, is what it seems. Back to your earlier point, it's been 35, 36 years. Well, that's the same age. That's about as long as we've had the efficiency defense. And it is absolutely up for renewal in terms of, is it serving those goals that we might have for competition in Canada? And our current commissioner has been very vocal about not only that this makes Canada an outlier, but in his fall Canada Bar Association speech, he made the point that they're seeing more and more of this defense being invoked and how impactful it can be for consumers. And also it raises significant practical challenges for the Bureau to estimate and measure anti-competitive harm. Those are great reasons for us to call it into question, take a good hard look, and consider whether and what reforms could serve both businesses and consumers more effectively.
Now, Keldon, this is the Bureau's proposal is to get rid of this defense. How likely do you think that is to happen? I mean, the minister hasn't explicitly mentioned it as far as I know. Do you think that this is going to make it into the set of reforms, or is this kind of maybe wishful thinking from the Bureau?
I certainly hope so. It's, as I mentioned, Commissioner Boswell is not the first commissioner to raise this issue. And I think it boils down to that the competition legal community understands that this is something that benefits their clients, and those in favor of mergers, including the merging parties or parties that plan to merge in the future, know that this makes it easier for them. So while I'm hopeful that the efficiencies defense, that Canada kind of gets with the program globally, it'll be a tough fight just to get rid of this exception.
Now, we've only got about a minute left, but Keldon, I just wanted to briefly ask you about one of the other proposed changes, which relates to injunctions to stop mergers. What's going on there?
So there was a really unfortunate decision last summer where the Bureau tried to gain an injunction, and the Competition Tribunal, who hears these cases, said, well, I won't grant you the injunction because you haven't shown me an initial estimate of the harms of this transaction. And that sounds like a fair thing to ask, but what the tribunal was asking the Bureau to do was to compress months of complex economic work into maybe a week or two, and then provide that to the tribunal for it to weigh against the efficiencies claims that the parties were making. And not only is that difficult to do, but extremely risky.
We've got to go to commercial, but we're going to continue this conversation when we're back.